Today we'll cover the as boring topic as it gets, but also as important topic as it gets, and that is Czech taxes. um, this video will go a bit deeper into that, so brace yourself for like 10 minutes deep dive into the topic. After the 10 minutes, I'll be probably answering some questions online, so you don't need to like watch the whole 20 minutes or whatever. The first 10 minutes should be important, and I'll try to cover all the different aspects. Just mind that this will be kind of like a general information, both for like freelancers only, partially also freelancers combining the freelancing with employment. And specifically, this will be aimed for people who need their taxes to prove their income for the residence permit. So partially for EU citizens as well, and how the taxes work in general, but also very important for those of you who need to show high enough income for your residence permit applications. Also, one thing, we'll be sending, or we've actually sent an email to all our clients who did the trade license with us or anything business related. So yeah, a lot of people. So we've sent an email with all the information. So you should have it in your email boxes right now. And we also recommend an accountant, because I'm not an accountant. I will be telling you what you need to know in general and what is important for the immigration purposes or from the immigration perspective. So you don't jeopardize your stay here just because of your taxes. But I'm not an accountant, I'm not a tax expert. We recommend a great guide though, so if you need someone to take care of your taxes, get in touch with me and I'll be happily recommending Michal, who is the accountant we work with. And I'm thinking if I wanted to say something else on the intro, I don't think so. So yeah, and one more thing, okay, I'll share, it's already there in the description of the video. Description of the video, sorry, I read the first comment and it distracted me. I'm just a simple man. So in the description of the video, there is a link to an article about this topic. So if you prefer reading instead of watching the whole video, or if you just want to go through it later, click the link in the description and it will take you to the article. It will be, now it's like this long and it will be like this long later today. So I don't know how to express it better in English. We will revise it. We will update more information there later today as well. So now let's go into the topic finally. I've wasted your time a little bit. Okay, so first thing is, who has to submit a Czech tax return? Technically, everyone, or generally speaking, everyone who had a trade license active for at least a day in 2024. So as long as your trade license was active at some point in 2024, you have to submit your tax return. Doesn't really matter like how long it was active, does not really matter how much you made or didn't make, does not really matter that much, even though it can get a bit trickier if you were also employed or not. But generally, if your trade license was active in 2024, you should submit your tax return. Along with the tax return, you usually also need to submit your social security report and healthcare report if you're part of the public healthcare. Because some freelancers can contribute to the public healthcare system, and they do that. So for example, all EU citizens and Americans who have the trade license. Most of other nationalities, like Indians or Canadians, Australians, they cannot contribute to the public healthcare system, so you don't have to pay the monthly healthcare deposits, and hence you don't need to submit the healthcare report. The deadline for submitting taxes is the 2nd of May 2025, and you have to submit the tax return electronically. You can technically still submit it physically, but you should be basically immediately fined on the spot. So if you go to the tax office, and you submit the tax return, they should accept it, but they should also fine you for doing that this way. because officially the tax office wants everything electronically. Then once you submit the tax return, you generally have 1 month to submit the social security reports and healthcare reports. Your accountant or our accountant, whoever you're using, will tell you more about like when you need to make the payments, or if you overpaid, where you should expect the payments to come back to your account, all that. The main thing is you have to do everything before May 2nd. If you're using a tax advisor to do your taxes, and tax advisor does not mean any accountant. There is a difference between an accountant and a tax advisor in the Czech Republic. And if you're using just an accountant, you have to submit it before, or you do taxes yourself, you have to submit it before May 2nd. If you're using a tax advisor, you have until the 2nd of July to submit it. Yes, for those of you who are registered to the flat tax, you don't have to do any tax returns. That's one of the main advantages of the flat tax. On the other hand, if you're under the flat tax and you want to extend your residence permit, you're fucked. So that's the disadvantage. Yeah, okay. So what next? I have some points here, so let me see. Okay, so maybe a bit now. Okay, let's go to deeper into the topic of how much taxes you should actually pay, or how much, like how high numbers you should show in your tax returns. Generally speaking, if you're an EU citizen, if you don't plan on getting a mortgage or a loan, or if you don't really need the taxes for anything, then you kind of naturally want to deduct the taxes or as much as you can, so you pay as little taxes as possible. So in that case, the flat tax might be good. Depends on your income. The flat tax does not mean it's like you always pay less than if you do the standard like monthly payments. It depends on your income. So like flat tax does not equal better or cheaper taxes or lower taxes or anything like that. Depends on your income, depends on your situation. But potentially, yeah, that might be a good thing. If you're not registered in the flat tax, then there are different ways of dealing with your taxes. Basically, the two main ones are that you use all your real expenses. I'm missing caffeine, so sorry guys if I'm not too clear today. I'm doing my best. So you can, like, let's say you had some income, total income in the year. So let's say 1 million crowns, and you make money by reselling stuff. So you buy something, you sell it more expensive. So in this case, it might be beneficial for you to use the real expenses way or approach to your taxes, because you bought something for 700,000, you sold it in total for 1 million. So if you use the real expenses, you will only tax the remaining, the balance, basically the 300,000. Good for you. In most cases though, your real expenses are not really that high, because there is not, as a freelancer, you don't have that many things you can deduct from your taxes. So most people use the 60-40 method, which means that you can automatically deduct 60% of your income as your expenses. There are other percentages as well. There is 80-20, there is 30-70, whatever. But 60-40 is the most common one, because it applies to most of the fields of business. And that basically means that you don't need to have any receipts. You don't need to prove any of your expenses. You just say, I want to deduct 60%, and you do that. So you only pay taxes from the 40%, which reduces your tax load a lot. On the other hand, for all the authorities you deal with, or for banks if you're getting a loan and stuff like that, or mainly the Ministry of the Interior if you want to extend your residence permit, or if you want to apply for a residence permit, then they all only calculate with the 400,000. Even though you made 1 million crowns, but because you deducted 600,000 as your expenses, they don't include those, so they only calculate with the 400,000. And with 1 million, it's kind of okay, because if you divide 400,000 by 12, it's what, 40, so 37, 35, something like that, a net, let's say. And that's in most cases more than the ministry wants to see you making. But let's say if your total income in a year was 500,000, then you deduct 60%, then you only tax 200,000. And if you divide 200 by 12, it's like 17, 18,000, something like that. And that's not even close to what you need to be making. So you need to be very careful. And in most cases, unless your income was very high, using the 60-40 method is not really recommended if you need to deal with your residence application. Because if you do the 60-40, most likely your income on paper will be too low and your residence permit will be denied because you will not be meeting the requirement. It's kind of weird thing because in real life you made enough, but on paper you didn't, and the ministry could easily like deny your application and like deport you basically. So you need to be super careful about this. And I definitely recommend, if you need to deal with immigration or if you need taxes for your residence permit application, definitely hire an accountant who knows what they do. You know, I definitely recommend the guy we work with. We've been working with him for the last 5 or 6 seasons. So we've tested him and he's really good. Our clients like him, we like him. He also, which is the main reason why we recommend him, is that he knows what the ministry is looking at in terms of income and he knows how they calculate it. So he usually prepares a couple options for you. One is like the bare minimum, which still kind of ensures you get the residence permit, but if something changes, you might not meet the requirement. Then a bit higher option where you have some buffer. So in case the ministry increases the requirement, you're still good. And then if you wanted to like really sleep well, whatever happens, you have the highest option there, but also means you will pay the highest taxes. So he usually sends you a couple of offers and you decide which way you want to go. Of course, you don't have to use him, but I've seen some companies that I don't want to mention it because I'm not saying it like hatefully, but there are some companies that don't know how your taxes are related to your residence permit. And in that case, the general setup is that they will use all the deductions they can, so you don't have to pay any taxes at all, or you pay as little taxes as possible, which generally speaking, like money-wise, is great for you. So it's like a good accounting approach, but it's not a good accounting approach if your residence permit is in the game, like in the if you need the taxes for your residence permit application. So be careful and definitely use someone who knows how the ministry calculates the income and can guide you through that and make sure that you meet the required minimums. That's roughly it. Then I will also mention a couple changes that happened in the field. I've done another video about that where I've only covered these changes. So if you haven't seen it, go back to my channel. I don't know where you have to click, but somewhere get to my channel. And if you just scroll down like the last 3 videos or something, then one of them is the changes in 2025, because there have been quite some changes. But because it's topical and it's related to taxes, I want to mention some of these changes here as well. So first thing is that as a freelancer, or for freelancers, the monthly payments have been increased from 1st of January. So the Social Security now is around 5,000 crowns. It's like 4,800 whatever. And the healthcare is now slightly over 3,000 crowns. So in total, you need to pay around 8,000 crowns a month as a freelancer. If you're paying less, make sure you increase your monthly payments, because these changes are effective from January 1st. So already your payment for January must be at least these new minimums. So at least, let's say 4,900 for the social and 3,200 for the healthcare. If you pay less, then you definitely need to increase it. Otherwise, you will start building debt against the Social Security and healthcare offices, and that's something you don't want to, because it can jeopardize your future applications and stuff. That's one thing. Second thing, minimum salary in the Czech Republic has been increased. So now the minimum salary is 20,800 crowns a month, gross salary. And because also the guaranteed salary levels were cancelled, so they no longer apply in the private sector. They still apply partially in the like state governmental jobs, but with the private sector they no longer apply. So for any position, the minimum salary is 20,800 crowns. It doesn't matter what position you're in, this is the minimum. And the third thing is that's related to the taxes and doing it right, as I mentioned before. The minimum requirement for how much you need to be making on monthly basis has also been increased. So just to give you an idea how the ministry calculates your income, I'll do the numbers, okay? For those of you who are here or who watched the video until now, thank you for that, and I appreciate your commitment. So I will also give you some concrete numbers, okay? So let's say you made million crowns. Let's make it easy. Million crowns. Yeah. So let's say you made million crowns a year last year. That's your total income. What the ministry does is that they take 1 million crowns. If you didn't use the 60-40 deduction, all that would mess up everything. So just make it to make it easy. So let's say the income tax is 15%. So you should pay 150,000 crowns income tax. There are some deductions. So let's say 120 is the tax. So they deduct the 120,000 crowns from 1 million tax. Then they deduct the total social security and total healthcare you paid. I don't know how much that would be because there is a calculation for that, but let's say 180,000 to make it easy. So you have the total income, they deduct the social security, they deduct the income tax, they deduct the healthcare, and that kind of creates your net yearly income. So let's say that was 700,000 crowns. Then they divide it by the number of months your trade license was active that year. So let's say if it was full year, then they divide it by 12. If it was, let's make it easy and make it 10 months, that your trade license was only active for 10 months last year. So your net income was 70,000 crowns. So 1 million total income minus tax, minus social security, minus healthcare. That's the total yearly income divided by the number of months. And this is the monthly net income. And then they compare this number with the minimums, and the minimums are a calculation. So it's a bit more complicated because it depends on how many people are in your household, how much you pay for your accommodation, what city you live in, these kind of things. But again, to give you a basic idea, for one person, that would be roughly 5,000 crowns, something called a substantial minimum, which means some theoretical amount of money one person needs to survive in the Czech Republic for a month, so 5,000 crowns, and then your accommodation cost. If the ministry knows your real rent, they will calculate with that. If they don't, they will calculate with some general number, which now is something like 18,000 something. So in total, the basic general number for one person would be 23,500, let's say 24,000 crowns. If your net income after this calculation is higher than this number, you're good. If it's not, you're not good. And this example, like with 1 million crowns, might sound like you have like more than enough, like that it can never go wrong. But imagine if you did the 60-40, that would be completely different, because then your tax base would not be 1 million crowns, but only 400,000 crowns. They would still deduct the total tax and social and health, and your income would be significantly lower, and it might not even meet the minimum. That's why it's very important for you to do the taxes correctly. And this part is what was increased, that the accommodation cost, the general accommodation cost was increased slightly, not that much, but it was increased, and you need to keep it in mind. You also need to keep in mind that the ministry can also increase it during the year anyway. So that's why it's better to have the buffer there just in case they do that. In the COVID year or the one after COVID, where the inflation was like 15-17% or something in the Czech Republic, the ministry increased the numbers 3 times. And that means that they were still looking at your like last year taxes, but they increased the required minimum 3 times within this year. So actually, like, you couldn't really change the taxes. So for some people, they effectively just denied their applications because of that, because you needed to have like way higher income, but you could not really change the income for last year just because they changed the numbers. So that was a pretty strange thing to do, but that's how it works. So it's better to have like a bit of a buffer just in case the ministry does something like that again. So thank you very much for watching. Let me see if there are any questions related to this topic, because this is not an open live stream today, so I'll not be answering questions about anything else, just the taxes. So let's see. This is a Turkish free access to the labor market, need insurance. Get in touch, like just send them, like ideally go to movetoprague.com and fill in any of the forms on the website. I live in Smíchov, dogs to Chodov, bridging visa. Bro, attended visa interview, letter from Dresden. In my work permit salary, they mentioned 20,100 crowns. Okay. No, the minimum salary in the Czech Republic is 20,800 crowns. So if your work contract says less, then they have to increase it, because otherwise you will not be meeting the requirement. And you will not even like meet the law requirements. So not only immigration, but also the legal like law requirements here. So definitely they need to increase it. We could like discuss if the ministry should consider that you will probably not be paid less than it's given by the law, and they could still accept the application, blah, blah, blah. But if you want to avoid any problems, make sure that your salary matches at least the minimum, which is 20,800 crowns. Czech. Monthly gross. Okay guys, no more questions related to the topic, so thank you very much for watching. If you found this useful, share it, comment it, like it, you know the drill. And I'll be back again Monday, Thursday, Monday, Thursday, until the end of the world. Good night guys, and see you again. Bye bye.